Welcome to 99th Monkey Liberty News for Tuesday, March 18th, 2014. There's so much intense stuff going on. I'm beginning with something that's a little more lighthearted, just a little more lighthearted. Cavallari, she and Cutler not vaccinating their kids. This is kind of fun. This MTV reality star married to a baseball player. Wait, a football player, shows how much I know about celebrities, are not vaccinating their children. And this has caused quite a stir and some criticisms. And John Rappaport wrote a blog about it, which gives a great perspective and one that probably most of you share. Reality star doesn't vaccinate her kids. The world ends. And this blog is about the uproar created by her being honest about her position on vaccines. And her position is that 1 out of 88 boys is now diagnosed with autism, and there is a proven link between vaccinations and autism. And she's relying on that and not vaccinating her children. And kudos to her and her family. She's expecting another child now, and if you think of it, maybe you can pray for her. She's under a lot of fire right now from the media, and for doing the right thing. So God bless and protect her and her family. So, the other way you can go is to completely trust the system and get your kids all the vaccines and sign up for Obamacare. And hey, that is where that can land you. From InfoWars, Obamacare leaves Vegas man owing $407,000 in doctor bills. And it's early. This is the first of these stories that I'm hearing. It's early. Hardly anybody has signed up yet for Obamacare when you consider the percentage of the whole population. And already you're seeing issues like this. So if you want to trust in the system, again, this is where it'll land you. From Paul Craig Roberts, and I have a couple of articles on Ukraine and what's going on in the world. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Washington's plan to seize Ukraine and to evict Russia from its Black Sea naval base has come amiss, but to turn around Lenin's quote, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. This has really fired up, and there are more opinions written about this. More is coming to light, and one concern is that they're getting nasty about what they as I mentioned yesterday, Obama's executive order is crafted in such a way that it could be used to prosecute those of us who speak out against the U.S. position on Ukraine. Paul Craig Roberts was one of those who wrote about having a concern about that, and I shared that yesterday. And this is his point of view of what is happening in that part of the world and through this controversy. Benjamin Fulford has a point of view that he has presented here. And Cabal backs down after threat of blockade of Cabal-controlled countries. Reading different accounts, we get a little bit different stories. And I'm reminded of reading the Gospels. All of the Gospels, I believe, are completely true, but they are told from the points of view of different people. And that means that the accounts will be somewhat different because we all have a filter through which we see things. And certainly reading through these these accounts from different people, what they believe is happening in Ukraine. We do find some different stories, and different people see different heroes and different villains. And this week's Fulford was, I found it very encouraging. His only caveat, it seems that things are going well. The Cabal backed down after threat of blockade of Cabal-controlled countries, and they seem to be getting backed into a corner, according to Fulford. But the one caveat that he has added in this week's blog is that it's still possible they could accomplish some terror attack that would be, he said, worse than 9/11 or 3/11. And he mentioned the possibility of a large earthquake in the Canary Islands and some land falling into the sea that would start a tidal wave, a tsunami that would be pretty severe in hitting the East Coast and the southern coast of Europe. So certainly that is something to pray about. And yet another perspective from Fritz Springer, Mercy Triumphs, 4 brief character studies in the Ukrainian drama by Fritz Springer. And Fritz doesn't absolutely say what's happening or what he thinks is going to happen or what he thinks should happen. He has simply done a character sketch, according to the title, of these 4 different significant players. And he actually, many of us, I think, many alternative media readers and writers, commentators, tend to believe that Putin is a good guy and George Soros is a bad guy. And, you know, we always want things to be very black and white. And here, Fritz has actually written some thoughts that challenge those positions that many of us want to take. And as I was reading through these different articles, you know, we always want to find a side to be on. And in Lord of the Rings, in the 2 Towers, the hobbits that are with Treebeard ask Treebeard the Ent, whose side are you on? And Treebeard says, I'm not on anybody's side because nobody's on my side. And sometimes I think sorting through some of the issues, we're looking for a side to be on. We want to identify with a group, and that's not bad. That's natural. I don't think that we can avoid that. But the reality is, you know, who's on our side? Who is on the side of our families? Who is concerned for our future? And sometimes we find that you know, we're alone in that. We're with our family, we're with like-minded people, but we can't always find someone on a large scale to align ourselves with, because it's just more complex than that. And there is another interesting spin here on George Soros from the National Prayer Network. Soros funds Palestinian-friendly evangelicals. And this is very pro-George Soros, which I will state I am not. I'm not on George Soros' side. George Soros is not on my side. But the idea here is not a bad one. I mean, this is like moving toward Christians being popped out of the paradigm that we've been kind of forced into and manipulated into, that Israel is good and the rest of the people in the Middle East are bad. And that is just so overly simplistic. You know, we've been invited as Christians to be on Israel's side. Well, hey, get a clue. Israel's not on our side. And again, more and more Christians have been realizing that this, quote, love for Israel has been used to manipulate us to support wars in the Middle East. And again, I think the people who the social engineers, the people who want to control and manipulate us, as Americans, are beginning to realize that the Middle East manipulation is failing, and we are not willing to get involved in a major war in the Middle East. I believe they're trotting out the old Russian fears, the old Cold War fears, because they think that maybe that will lure us into supporting a war. But anyway, this is very, very interesting here. Just yet another part of the story that is unfolding before our eyes. And the more discernment we can exercise, the more we can be in prayer and hear from the Lord what is really going on, and where He wants us to stand. I mean, instead of using our minds to look for a side, we can hear from the Lord where He wants to position us, what He would like us to be sharing with people and saying and communicating. And certainly I believe that the battle ultimately is won in prayer and aligning ourselves with the Lord and with His will and purposes. His kingdom come, His will be done on earth. And of course, one of the reasons they would, the social engineers would want to manipulate and control Christians and any of us who feel that we have some kind of a destiny, some kind of a mandate to be effective and to have a positive impact on the world, is because, there are groups of people who do care, and other people tend to float through life. And this article, Minority Rule, Scientists Discover Tipping Point for the Spread of Ideas. And if you feel insignificant and as if you don't have any impact, think again, read this article. And it is, that's the whole idea. That's the reason I decided to change the name of this video and my blog to 99th Monkey News, because through disseminating information, through being passionate about finding truth and then sharing what we find with others, there is a level of consciousness changing that occurs not just through the natural five senses ways that we're used to communicating, but on another level where just as humanity we become more aware and more awake. And that's kind of what tipping points are about, that there's a certain level, like the monkeys who learned how to make their food more flavorful. At a certain point, it wasn't one monkey teaching another monkey, it was all the monkeys knew. And really that is at the very heart of what I would hope to do, and I'm sure a lot of you also would hope to do, is just help people become more aware, so that we don't have to be on anybody's side. We can get off the grid and provide for ourselves and our families and raise food on the land that we don't have to pay taxes on, and live more independently and be on our side and our family's side, and be able to invest in our future and our family's future. There's actually a psalm in the Bible that is a blessing that says, you shall eat the fruits of the works of your hands. And that's also a blessing on the Proverbs 31 woman. That's a great blessing in the Bible, that you get to eat the fruits of your labors. And the more we can all benefit from the fruits of our own labors, the happier and more blessed we will find ourselves. And here is an article. This is from a few days ago. And I noticed this before, but it didn't really spark anything in me. But yesterday it did, so I want to share it. In-car, facial recognition detects angry drivers to prevent road rage. This is a tremendous invasion of privacy. And you know, if we could trust the establishment, it might not be a bad thing. I mean, you can see how this might protect people. But I want to focus here on the desire of the social engineers to reduce risk. And ultimately, it's about reducing exposure for and loss for them. Airlines use digital technology to get even more personal. And these are just some examples of how much, to what extent they are watching all of us. And what they're trying to do is minimize their exposure to risk. As you know, the human farmers that they are, you know, farming us, and also just practically insurance risks. And that's, you know, the road rage thing, the in-car facial rage recognition. That's, and even wearing seat belts and imposing that on us and making it illegal to text while you're driving. Now, I'm not advocating texting while driving. I think it's very dangerous and rather foolish. However, it's not because they care about us that they're passing these laws and installing this technology. It's because they want to minimize their exposure to risk. And, you know, ultimately, it's kind of a God complex. They want to know everything and control everything. And it's just not possible. Plaintiffs, this is from InfoWars, plaintiffs' no-fly list deprives due process right. And this is people who are protesting against being placed on a no-fly list. Again, this no-fly list is, you know, it's intrusive, invasive, unlawful, but it's meant to minimize risk. And I actually want to end today by mentioning a YouTube video that I happened to watch. This is from some time ago. It's actually put up just recently, last year, but it was recorded in the 90s. And this is Carolyn, I think it's Carolyn Nice is how it's pronounced, M-Y-S-S. I became aware of her just the other day through a friend, and she has a really interesting level of wisdom. She was raised pretty much in the Catholic Church in various schools, and she really has a solid Catholic background. Now, that might not sound good to some of you, but the reality is there have been through history some really remarkable Catholic mystics, and let's face it, Martin Luther was a Catholic when he started out. So there's definitely wisdom in the Catholic Church, in spite of, yes, I'm aware of the Jesuits and all the evil there, and I'm not denying that. But this woman has really a vibrant faith in Christ, and this even comes out more in some of her other later videos. But she has that, she kind of walks that line between Christians and New Age people. But I find her very Christian as I listen to her. And this is the video, The Energetics of Healing. And this is volume 2, but I'm bringing it up here, and I'm ending with this today because I found this good news. Toward the end of this video, she addresses a decision-making process and how we decide what we will give our energies to. And she says that she believes, and I tend to believe this as well, that as you're making decisions, the path that has more risk tends to be the path where you will experience more divine intervention, more experiences with God, more miracles, because risk is almost synonymous with faith. Entailing risk requires you to exercise faith, and when you're exercising faith, you will have more experiences with God. That's just the way it is. The book of Hebrews says, "He who comes to God must believe that He is, and that He is a rewarder of those who diligently seek Him." And that is, that is faith. I mean, faith is the substance of things not seen. And coming to God with faith pleases Him. And we experience reward when we please Him. With that, I will thank you for tuning in for today's 99th Monkey Liberty News. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. And we know that both by experience and by faith. Hoping that you will love one another, take care, and insist on liberty.